and all these things, you know, it doesn't just affect the one that they have kidnapped. It's you know, it affects.
We haven't even noticed it that they make us pay to be their slave.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about that. If you go to the county jail, most of these sheriffs, they feed you worth down, right? But you haven't been convicted. But under their system, they swear that you innocent until you proven guilty, but they treat you like you guilty.
True.
Because in their system, you automatically guilty regardless of what they say out their mouth. They all are acting under the color of law. Colorable law. Using color as the code. They de facto. They don't belong here. But as long as we go along to get along and we don't say nothing, they'll stay as long as they want to. When we get fed up and recognize what's taking place, the police is a foreign military that's occupying the territory. The police charters trace straight back to London. Then they separate the names, like the word police is owned by the Fraternal Order of Police. Right? But in Europe, they call them something else. But they the same thing, sister lodge. Over here, I'm talking about the organization that owned the title police over there.
Oh.
Okay, now, over here, the pirates is called Skull and Bones, but over there, they called the Scroll and Key. Same thing, pirates. All they doing is coming to suck our blood. Vampires.
Vampire.
And we wore wolves. That's that movie, Underworld. You ever see that?
Underworld.
So that this lady that was a vampire, and she was fighting to. Then eventually they came out with a hybrid vampire werewolf that was supposed to lead both sides. It's all about that drop of blood. It's called Underworld. It's like three part movie.
Now look, I don't know. I'm not aware of that, but somebody said it was awesome. Underworld. I got to look. I got one of those streaming things to look for it.
Look, if you go back to Twilight, the tribes turned into wolves.
Okay.
But the colonizers, they was vampires. They glistened in the sun.
Are we talking about the real ones?
We're talking about the movie Twilight.
Okay.
So now, the question is, why are they glistening in the sun? But they pale face. Because they are expressing something called prismatic melanin. Right? So the prismatic melanin reflect in the sun, but pale skin don't.
Okay. So why?
But they was telling you, they was just using that as a like a representation of who the people was that came over here versus who they was fighting.
Okay.
They call the werewolves lichens. They say they look like kin, but they not.
Yeah, somebody put the lichens in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah. They look like kin, but they not.
And what was the other guy's name that played the vampire? Wesley Snipes. Didn't he?
No, Blade.
Blade, wasn't he a vampire or something?
Yeah, he was what you call a daywalker, a vampire that could tolerate the sun.
Okay, because they had the protection of the melanin. But you know what blew my mind today when we were talking, and I didn't realize it. And maybe other people realized, I didn't. So it's like I was today years old when I found out, that this brother had been in prison. Larry Hoover had been in prison for 52 years.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a lifetime for some folks, for some people. But
You got people that died natural causes before they even turned 50.
Right. So he has been in the belly of the beast or whatever for 52 years. And then you told me he's in an admin max, which grossly restricts
Oh,
his ability.
Colorado for like 20-something years.
Wow. So no
Look,
family, no.
only like a handful of family members can visit him, and they got to be the same people on the list. And it's up to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, if he can change the visitors on this. He got grandkids he ain't never seen in person. He talked to them on the phone briefly, but he have never seen them in person. Let that man go.
Mm.
You just turned his life upside down on your war strategy. It's like most of us don't know that these people that we talk about, Jeff Ford, Larry Hoover, Tookie, Geronimo Pratt, Fred Hampton, H. Rap Brown, they all was targets of COINTELPRO. Stokely Carmichael. And I can just go down that George Jackson. I can go down that list for hours. And they had 400 names on the COINTELPRO list in just Chicago alone. So imagine how many they had in New York, Louisiana, Miami, Baltimore, LA, San Francisco, Oklahoma City, all over the country. They was looking for one of us that would be able to galvanize the people to stand up against the artificial system. They didn't never want us to come from under this condition. And they thought that they had us. They thought that we was gonna never figure it out.
Wow.
Martin Luther King had to do a nonviolent protest because he didn't want them son bitches getting another extension.
So yep, they said, they targeted, like I said, they didn't want to. Hoover said no messiahs, right? Less than the messiah rise up in their community. So what do they have in common? Their leadership ability, the ability to charismatic leadership. They were able to have influence over the communities that they not they, but the so-called government had disenfranchised, and they did have the potential to organize significant militant, or as they say, political resistance, and they were all against that. But they really wanted to uplift and awaken the people. That's what we want to do, and that's what they wanted to do, and that's why they were
Well, if you understand COINTELPRO, it'll explain to you why all of those guys was locked up. They didn't even count the ones that is killed with the heart attack gun, like Dale Jones. We think he just died of natural causes. He ain't died no damn natural causes. It's a lot of them that we think died of natural causes that didn't. And then when they really get mad, they send one of their minions to shoot your mama in the face because you was too effective. In church, on the front pew.
Are we talking about Martin Luther King's mother?
Yeah. We forget that he was one of them people that look like us that ain't us. Call themselves a Hebrew Israelite or a Jew.
We talking about Martin now, right?
Yeah, Martin Mama.
Actually Michael King.
Well, if he changed his name, I'm gonna go with the changed name because that's what he want to be referred to as. But the point being is, they hated him so bad that they killed his mama. They had to come out of hiding to do that.
Yeah.
So you can see they look like us, but they ain't us. Everybody keep thinking pale faces went up in Emmett Till People's House and got him. There wasn't no pale faces went in there and got him.
They look like us. They took him out there.
They didn't even show it in the movie. But in the movie, they mix them up where there's some pale faces and dark skins in there. But when the original story came out, they said that the brothers came and got him so that the Klan wouldn't burn their town down. That's BS. He was gonna be Chief Littlehorn, and he was gonna call us to war, and that's what the problem was. He wasn't whistling at that woman; he was whistling Dixie, as they call it, old war cry from the minstrels. They killed his daddy too, but we don't know nothing about that part.
Really? Look afterwards.
Before.
Oh.
That's how he even ended up down there. His daddy was already gone. They killed him in the military. He was going to be Chief Bighorn. But we don't know our culture, so we don't know who these people are. And then if I call them by their tribal, the name that they would eventually adopt as a tribal chief, we won't recognize the name because they never got to the point of self-realization to name themselves. What did Bob Marley say every time he planted a seed? Sheriff John Brown say, kill it before it grow. Ain't gonna let you, if they can stop you, they're gonna stop you before you can be effective. Dude, we've been at war for 500 years. It's just that now we've been so conditioned to the conditions of the warfare that we forgot what it was like to be truly free, living on the fat of the land.
Wow. Well, I mean, their systems are designed to, just totally, like you said, to take away the power of unity from us. When like they say, I mean, it's very, very, basic, but where there's unity, there's definitely strength. And if you can have people, pulled in different directions, and it's not all from the same reason, for the same reason. I mean, there's so many distractions out there, and so many different agendas that people are following that we can't come together as a cohesive force. And they're still doing what they want to do in terms of that. And as long as we got the church versus the saved so-called versus the so-called unsaved, and the higher ups, or the so-called black middle class, and then but everybody's kind of, I think that stuff is kind of coming all down to the same thing. Everybody's complaining about the cost of this, that, and the third, because now they don't care. Everybody's being thrown to the wolves. But I'm saying there's so many things. And how, Chief, do we begin to bring the focus to a unified point? Like we're all looking at the same thing. What can we agree on? What should we be agreeing on?
The only thing we need, I don't know if we need to all agree, because everybody's not going to always agree on everything. But what we need to understand is that the corporation that's masquerading as our government is a fraud. That one thing alone, it gives us support from every community across the land, from pale faces to Hispanics to the original people of the land to the African immigrants. Right? Once we understand that it's a constructed fraud, then we're in the position to begin to see the problem. Mm-hmm. Right? If they don't keep us divided, that's the number one tool. Matter of fact, on your AI, ask them, how much do the FBI spend on confidential informants every year?
I heard they spend millions. I don't know. Yeah.
You think about how many people that is, and there's averaging $100,000, close to $100,000 per informant. That's a pretty lucrative job.
Let me see if I can find out. You mean like individual or just overall per cap? Yeah.
Per cap, annually, how much did the FBI spend on confidential informants?
I don't know. Oh, wow. Wow. So I don't know what they spending now, but it looks like, oh wow. So back in 2012 to 2018, they spent an average of 42 million a year on confidential human sources. That's what they're called now, CHS.
That's just the FBI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now this year it says for 2025 they requested 11.3 billion in direct budget authority. So I don't know how much of that would be going to, paying that, but paying confidential.
We all seen them, but we didn't know we was looking at. The guy that hang out with all the drug dealers don't sell no dope, but he balling just like them.
Mm-hmm.
He know them all. He'll never get arrested. He'll never sell no dope, but he hang out with all the drug dealers and keep a wad of money in his pocket. They call it petty cash.
Yeah.
Why do they need to spend that much on informants if they investigators? They supposed to investigate, right, and find the answer. They don't know nothing unless somebody tell them. They know where all the dope go because they bring it here. They know who they gave it to.
Mm-hmm.
The same original investigator from the Biggie murder, Russell Poole, was the same one whistleblower that told when Ricky Ross got arrested that Ricky Ross was getting drugs from the government. He wasn't never supposed to go to jail because the government created a crime and punished him for it. Anybody with a dope case, they co-defendant is the government. Especially when it was cocaine in the 80s and 90s, because they was the ones bringing it in.
And yeah, because like we don't have no planes, no ships, then you had during the war, you had, my understanding is that there were a lot of bodies coming into Dover Air Force Base that had packages with them.
That was during Vietnam when they was bringing heroin in.
Yeah.
I mean, they switched from heroin to cocaine because the old man Bush had oil tanker that wasn't subject to search. But William Cooper go over that information in Behold the Pale Horse too.
I'm had to.
He used the same cover story of an oil tycoon to oversee the assassination of JFK.
The cover story?
Yeah. It's in the CIA, it's called a cutout. That's how he got to the top of the CIA, got to be the director. Right. Thanks to LBJ.
And LBJ went from vice president to president after he was,
right. Yeah. Because that's the only way he was going to get the office Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
And so he called one of his assets in, which was the grandson or son of Prescott Bush, who come from a banking family.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff is, they already didn't track them. All of the illicit wealth for the last 50 years has been being tracked. Wall Street got caught, like everybody think Wall Street trading, that's all phantom trading right now. They just moving numbers. Because they already been caught laundering over $1 trillion in human trafficking money, illegal money, and illegal drug money. $1 trillion in each. That's a whole lot of money. And they know who got the money, where it went, and how they got it. You thinking they working in hundreds of billions of dollars? Those are electronic transfers. Yeah. That ain't no cash.
Well, what about the ships that were going out before 9/11, allegedly in the dead of night, from the harbor there?
I'm not familiar with the ships. I do know that they had vans that was collecting the gold that was on reserve in the World Trade Center
Well,
right
I heard
leading up to the.
yeah. So you heard it was fans. I heard there were ships that were leaving, you know, that were taking things out prior to.
Yeah, they were supposed to be dumping, trying to get rid of some of the evidence by dumping gold in the oceans. Well, I don't know if they did that or not, but that was one of the reports that I came across.
I'm wondering what would be the point if you dump it. If you know where you dumped it, you go back and get it later on when all the stuff is blows over, right?
Yeah.
And then you knock down a building a couple of blocks away and make sure it was probably holding records of stuff that you took out.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a.
John Jr. was telling us everything in George magazine. We didn't know what he was talking about because he was talking in code.
Who was now?
John Jr.
Oh, he talked about it in George.
He got the whole magazine is coded from cover to cover. He named it George because he was after George Bush.
George Bush. That's why. Oh my goodness.
The CIA the ones told him that who killed his daddy. They figured because he was a clean cut pale face that he wasn't going. They keep forgetting they Irish, and Irish is just light skinned Negroes.
Well, now there's a man that and of course Dr. Key has had him on her show. I think she has, at least she's talked to him, that says that he is the real JFK, and talks a lot about a lot of different things, including Mr. Trump not being the
I know what you're talking about, but I never listened to him. I don't know. He said that he was switched with the son Aristotle Onassis when Jackie took up with him.
That's not what he says in the book. He says that one of Aristotle Onassis' son was actually murdered in his presence, but he I don't know where the boy allegedly came from that he claims that wasn't the real John. But he said the reason why they called him John because he was the original one. But he said he was related to Trump. And he also says that Trump was killed in a helicopter crash, with two executives on the New Jersey Turnpike. And that he actually was taken by his handler to saw his body, because apparently Trump was a helicopter pilot also. I don't know if Trump still knows how to fly.
Well, I know they got more than one Trump.